Juliet got the shock of her life in the previous episode of Silo, and she no longer knew who to place her trust in. Regina had told her that the man she loved with all her heart was just using her for his own selfish motives, and though she did not want to believe her at first, her intuition told her that she was not lying. Juliet still had that travel magazine in her possession, and she hoped that it would lead her to someone who could tell her what exactly was happening in Silo. Her curiosity was making her restless, and her actions and intentions were no longer hidden from the people who were running this show. So, let's try to decipher in this recap who the people were who were watching the residence through the cameras installed in the mirror, and what their intentions were behind it. Spoilers ahead. Don't forget to like and subscribe. There were 3 names mentioned in the travel guide that Juliet had gotten from Regina Jackson. She knew about George Wilkins, but she had no clue who Gloria and Anne were. She did some background research, read some case files, and got to know that Gloria was in the medical ward, so she immediately went there in the hope that she would get to know something about Wilkins' death. But Gloria wasn't in a state to talk, and the judicial had ordered to keep her inside the medical facility and under strict supervision. Gloria was being fed some drugs, because of which she was intoxicated at all times. The medical attendant told Juliet that she would have to talk to Judge Meadows if she wanted to take Gloria outside the hospital. A riot had broken out when Juliet had gone to meet Gloria, and Billings couldn't reach out to her because she had switched her radio off. Paul Billings was very angry at her, as she had left him alone to deal with the situation. He didn't know what she was up to, but he was just done proving to her that he was on her side. He told her that he had covered for her when the mayor asked where she was. Juliet was apologetic, but she knew that she had to find the truth and get to know what was happening in the silo. Juliet met Bernard later, who told her how he vouched for her even when Sims and Judge Meadows were totally against her. Although Bernard had supported her in the previous episode in front of Sims, his actions felt a little suspicious. It felt like he was up to something, but till now, there was no evidence that could prove that he was plotting behind everybody's back. One thing was for sure, Bernard was not who he pretended to be, and he knew a lot more than he was revealing. Juliet went to meet Meadows at her house, as she was not coming to her office because of some health issues. To Juliet's disappointment, Meadows told her that she couldn't go against her order, and that she couldn't take Gloria out of the medical facility. Meadows was not in good shape, and she almost broke down in tears while telling Juliet that she didn't know anything about the people she was dealing with or what they were capable of. Juliet tried asking Meadows who these people were that she was referring to, considering the judge was above everybody else. Meadows abstained from giving any sort of information, and she asked Juliet to leave immediately. One thing that became very clear after this confrontation was that Meadows was helpless and was not acting on her own accord. She might have seemed like an evil person in the earlier episodes of Silo, but it was just because she was merely carrying out the orders. At this point in time, it had become clear that the Sims was keeping an eye on everybody through the hidden cameras installed in the mirror. Sims knew that nobody would ever come to know about it, as they were unaware that something like a camera existed in the world. There was a reason why anyone who didn't want these people to know what they were up to kept flowers in front of the mirror. But Juliet didn't know that, and she was stranded in the dark, clueless about which direction to go in. After her request was put down by Judge Meadows, Juliet went to her father because she knew that he too had access to the medical division and could probably help her bring out Gloria Hildebrandt for a while so that she would be able to question her once the effect of her medicines wears off. Dr. Pete Nichols was hesitant at first because he knew that he would be breaking the law and going against the orders of the judicial. But Juliet was not ready to take no for an answer. Pete told her that the implications of her actions could be really bad, but Juliet was ready to take the risk. Pete agreed, and he brought Gloria out of her ward and gave her the antidote so that she would come back to her senses. Gloria got paranoid as soon as she saw Pete standing in front of her, and she started saying that he was the one who had made sure that she never got pregnant. Juliet was confused, as she had no clue what had happened with Allison Becker, Halston's wife, in the very first episode of Silo. Juliet might not have had a good relationship with her father, but she didn't believe him to be an unethical man. But after the revelation was made, she started questioning his integrity. Juliet asked her father to leave Gloria alone for a bit so that she could calm down and tell her whatever secrets she knew about the silo. Gloria was a bit reluctant to divulge any information, but when Juliet showed her the travel guide she had gotten from Regina in the previous episode, Gloria started telling her why she was in such a state and what were these anonymous power yielders hiding from the residents. During the Great Rebellion, there were people who didn't want to forget their past, and they wanted to keep all those relics they had in their possession as a memoir of the times they had spent on the earth when it was habitable. This group of people referred to themselves as the Flamekeepers, and ever since then, they have passed on the information from generation to generation. Gloria was one of the last Flamekeepers, and she told Juliet that she had given that book to George Wilkins' mother, Anne, who was also a part of the rebel group. She told Juliet that she knew about her mother, Hannah, and though she wasn't really a part of their close-knit circle, she had the same curiosity to know about the outside world as them. Gloria said that when she heard about Hannah Nichols' suicide, she felt like she had lost one of her own. Hannah had died under mysterious circumstances, and Gloria told Juliet that there were a lot of things she didn't know about her mother. Juliet was a bit surprised when Gloria told her that Halston had visited her in the hospital, and he had specifically told her to always put flowers in front of the mirror. It struck Juliet that Halston was trying to tell them something, as he had left her a note that said a similar thing. Juliet realized that there was something installed in the mirror through which the judicial was able to keep a watch on them at all times. She quickly covered the mirror as she had a hunch that Halston might have hidden something in the air duct here as well, like he had in the sheriff's quarter. Juliet opened the air duct, and she finally found the hard drive that she was searching for all this while. Meanwhile, Sims realized that he would have to send a force to take Juliet into custody, as she had become a threat to the regime. She knew too much, and they couldn't afford for her to be so curious. By default, Juliet was now a Flamekeeper, and Gloria asked her to escape before the forces arrived. Silo Episode 7 ending makes us think about what Gloria would have gone through for all those years. Imagine the amount of frustration that Lady and many other Flamekeepers like her would have had, and how claustrophobic they would have felt living inside the silo. They had an idea of how the earth was before it became uninhabitable. Gloria had seen the pictures of the trees, birds, animals, and water bodies among other things, and multiple times she had imagined herself standing on the beach, feeling the fresh breeze, and just marveling at the creation of the Almighty. Gloria knew that the judicial would never let her have a baby, and that is why she intentionally pushed her husband away from her life so that he could build a family with some other woman. She loved her husband, and years later, after their separation, they bumped into each other, and he completely ignored her. Her husband hated her, and that was exactly what she had wanted. She knew that if she had told him the truth, he would have sympathized with her and never left her side. Gloria didn't want that, and that is why she made herself the villain, even though it killed her from within to hurt a man she dearly loved. That was the sacrifice she had made, and she didn't want it to go in vain. Juliet is currently on the run, but we don't think that Juliet will be able to hide for long. She had the hard disk, and she had an idea about what the judicial was up to, and those things were enough to make her an enemy of the regime. The upcoming episodes will divulge more secrets and tell us what will happen to Juliet if and when she gets caught by Sims. We believe that if she gets caught, she will be sent out for cleaning as a punishment, and it would be intriguing to see if she finds something more than what her predecessors did, or if she too perishes like them. Thank you for joining us on this journey, and I hope you enjoyed the Silo story.